was telling them earlier, I meant to tell Kristen I needed a screen because I needed to put my PowerPoint like we're in class. So y'all got to listen to my lecture and like I'm in class. This is a holiday that is a great holiday, ladies and gentlemen, that we should really embrace. But I have to confide that it was not really a holiday that I embraced a lot because a lot of things that Chancellor Anderson was saying, I was like, you're taking away from my speech stock. And you kind of did that in the email earlier this week, is that it is a holiday, especially today because of social media, we often get confused of what it is and what it means and how it should actually be celebrated. So especially when I was in graduate school, I kind of shied away from the Juneteenth holiday and how it should be celebrated because I didn't want people to really get it confused of what it was and how it should be celebrated and what it means. And so together today we really reflect upon a great holiday that is a pivotal moment in our nation's history. And that's one of the things that I want everybody to really embrace about it. There are really moments that have truly shaped our course towards freedom and equality. And as we remember the capture of so many things in our lives, we have to kind of look at some of the things that have happened here in the state of Louisiana, but also how this holiday really became because of what happened in Texas. And so as we move forward through it, I really want us to kind of go back to a history here in Louisiana, history here in Texas. But as we remember, I want you to think about, here in Louisiana, the capture of New Orleans, the siege of Vicksburg, the courage of the runaway slaves in Louisiana and also Mississippi, the issuance of the Emancipation Proclamation, and the significance also of some people that's really a part of this big movement is Miss Opal Lee from Texas.
Exactly.
And the Juneteenth holiday. So a lot of times we kind of leave that out. We don't think about Opal Lee as much, but it also really embodies the enduring spirit of those who fought for liberty and justice. In the spring of 1862, forces captured New Orleans. It was a strategic victory that shifted the balance of power in the Civil War. And New Orleans was, of course, as we all know, it's a very large city. It was one back then. It was a vital port city, was the lifeline of the Confederacy. Its capture by Union troops not only disrupted Confederate supply lines, but it also signaled something that became very big during that time, a turning point in the Civil War. The victory was more than a military triumph. It was a beacon of hope for the enslaved people, especially right here in the state of Louisiana. And that's what kind of throws me off about this holiday, but I want you guys to kind of embrace it more because of it, is that, like Chancellor Esther said, many people in the state of Louisiana knew they were free, but many people in Texas did not. And with this capture of New Orleans, we saw many of the slaves saw those Union troops marching around, and they saw that as a sign that their freedom was within reach. The siege of Vicksburg, right down the road, culminating in its surrender on July 4th of 1863, further cemented the Union's hold on the Mississippi River. The victories effectively split the Confederacy in two, isolating the western states and crippling the ability to sustain the war effort. And for the enslaved people in the South, Vicksburg's fall meant that the promise of freedom was really drawing closer. So we kind of see that's where we saw really the end of the Confederacy really starting to happen in many ways. Amidst all this turmoil, countless enslaved individuals took to their fate into their own hands, escaping from bondage. So wherever they saw Union troops here in this region of Northeast Louisiana, or they saw in Tallulah, Lake Providence, Newellton, Vicksburg, when they saw Union troops, they ran to them. And amidst all that turmoil, all those enslaved people started to go straight to those Union troops because they knew that they had their fate in their own hands, escaping from bondage and seeking freedom from the Union lines. In Louisiana, many brave souls risked everything embodying the spirit of resistance and self-liberation. So they took their own liberation, their freedom in their own hands. We're going to make ourselves free. Even though this was even before the Emancipation Proclamation had already been delivered. And so many of these new slaves that were run away from the plantations were considered contrabands of war. Not only did they really seek their own freedom, but they also provided invaluable support to the Union forces, contributing to the war effort in any way that they could. Their courage and determination are a testament of the human spirit, unyielding desire for freedom. During the Civil War, many of the authors reported back to Washington on how these contrabands of war, those runaway slaves, were leaving plantations. They're like, well, what's really going on? Because every time they saw these Union troops marching around, slaves kept showing up right next to them. And this really prompted Abraham Lincoln, President of the United States, to issue the Emancipation Proclamation on January 1st of 1863. So if these slaves in North Louisiana, in New Orleans, and down south had not started running to the Union troops, Abraham Lincoln probably would not have issued the Emancipation Proclamation. But they saw something's going on. The slaves keep leaving. That is an executive order declared all the freedom of all enslaved persons in Confederate-held territory. It was rather specific, however, but it designated which counties and which parishes that these slaves could be free. In it, he says this, Abraham Lincoln, I do order and declare that all persons held as slaves within said designated states and parts of states, and henceforth shall be free, Lincoln wrote. While it did not immediately free all enslaved individuals, it fundamentally transformed the character of the Civil War, making it a fight for freedom inextricably from the fight to preserve the Union. The Emancipation Proclamation was a bold step toward justice and really igniting the hopes of millions and setting the stage for the eventual abolition of slavery throughout the United States. And so we saw Chancellor Evans was talking about 1865, but it really takes that long before it makes its way throughout much of the South, and it's until June 19, 1865, 2.5 years after the Emancipation Proclamation, when most of the other slaves, especially those in Texas, Galveston, Texas, find out that they're actually free. This day, what's now known, as we know, as Juneteenth, marks the true end of slavery in the United States. For decades, this holiday was mostly celebrated by African Americans only. I know I've gone to a few celebrations in Texas. We didn't see it that much in any other places besides Texas. And with that kind of where we see the entering of Opal Lee. She was a tireless advocate who really dedicated her life to really pushing for this Juneteenth holiday. She wanted to bring national attention to Juneteenth, and it's now recognized as the grandmother of the Juneteenth holiday. As many of you may know, but some of you may not, Mrs. Lee was born in 1926 and grew up less than an hour from Shreveport in Marshall, Texas. Opal Lee lived through the trials of segregation and witnessed the evolution of civil rights in America. Her passion for justice and her unwavering commitment led to her crusade to make Juneteenth a national holiday. And at the ripe young age of 89, she embarked on a symbolic walk from her new home in Fort Worth, Texas, all the way to Washington, D.C., to draw the attention to the significance of Juneteenth. Thanks to her efforts and support of many, Juneteenth was officially recognized as a holiday in 2021, ensuring that the story of emancipation and the celebration of freedom would be honored by the entire nation, not just in Texas. As we reflect on the historic events and the remarkable individuals who shaped them, we are reminded of the resilience and enduring spirit that defines our nation. The capture of New Orleans, the siege of Vicksburg, the bravery of the runaway slaves, the transformative power of the Emancipation Proclamation, and the legacy of course, Miss Opal Lee and Juneteenth all underscore a profound truth. The pursuit of freedom and justice is a journey that requires courage, determination, and an unwavering hope that should not be celebrated by African Americans, but all Americans, as it celebrates the reunification of the United States. So this holiday is not just for African Americans, it's for all Americans because it's a celebration of the reunification of the United States after the end of the Civil War. As Ms. Opal Lee said, Juneteenth means freedom, and I mean for everybody. Today, let us honor the memory of those who fought for freedom and justice. Let us celebrate the holiday and to honor and safeguard the freedoms that were, for many Americans, much too belatedly won. May the lessons of the past guide us as we work towards the future where liberty and justice are truly accessible to all. Thank you.
Amen.
Amen.